In the heart of West Africa, a quiet revolution is reshaping global politics, and at the center of it stands one man, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young and determined leader of Burkina Faso. At just 36 years old, Traoré has emerged as one of the most talked-about figures in Africa, not only because of his military background or his bold defiance of foreign powers, but because of a decision that shook the corridors of Washington, Paris, and beyond. A massive $2.1 billion trade pivot that signals the birth of a new Africa and the decline of old colonial influence. To understand why this moment is so powerful, we have to step back and look at the history of Burkina Faso. Once known as Upper Volta, this landlocked nation has endured decades of instability, poverty, and heavy dependence on foreign powers. France, the former colonial ruler, maintained a grip on the country long after independence. From the CFA franc currency, which tied Burkina Faso's economy to the French treasury, to military cooperation deals and mining concessions that favored foreign companies, the nation's resources and sovereignty were often compromised. Gold, one of Burkina Faso's biggest exports, lined the pockets of corporations and elites, while the people remained among the poorest in the world. Ibrahim Traoré knew this history well. Rising through the military ranks, he watched as his country faced growing insecurity from armed groups, frustrated citizens demanding change, and leaders who seemed unable or unwilling to break the cycle of dependence. In 2022, when Traoré seized power in a coup, he declared his mission was not for personal gain, but to restore dignity to Burkina Faso and its people. Critics called him too young, too radical, too inexperienced. But in less than 2 years, he has become a symbol of resistance, not just for Burkina Faso, but for much of West Africa. The turning point came when Traoré unveiled an ambitious trade and economic pivot worth an estimated $2.1 billion. Instead of relying on traditional Western partners, he began forging new alliances with countries that many in Washington and Paris view with suspicion: Russia, China, Turkey, and other rising players eager to invest in Africa's future. This pivot wasn't just about money, it was about power, independence, and rewriting the rules of global influence. For decades, Burkina Faso's gold, cotton, and other natural resources flowed outward, enriching others while leaving little for its people. Traoré announced that under his leadership, this would change. Local refining of gold would be prioritized, mining contracts with foreign companies would be renegotiated, and Burkina Faso would explore partnerships with countries willing to invest in infrastructure, agriculture, and technology rather than simply extracting wealth. The $2.1 billion deal was designed to channel money into building roads, energy projects, and food security programs, areas that could transform the daily lives of Burkinabe citizens. This bold step immediately drew the attention and the anger of the United States and its allies. For Washington, the move was more than an economic adjustment. It was a geopolitical challenge. The U.S. has long seen Africa as a zone of influence, a region where Western aid and military partnerships kept governments aligned with American and European interests. But Traoré's pivot signaled a new reality. Africa was no longer willing to play the role of junior partner. The response from the West was swift. Officials warned of the dangers of working too closely with Russia and China. Sanctions were threatened. Aid was reduced. Western media painted Traoré as an authoritarian, highlighting concerns over democratic backsliding and human rights. But on the streets of Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, a different story was unfolding. Thousands of citizens rallied in support of their young leader, waving national flags and chanting slogans of sovereignty. For them, Traoré's defiance was not a reckless gamble. It was a long overdue act of courage. The ripple effects of this decision spread across the continent. In Mali and Niger, where military governments also rose to power in recent years, Traoré's stance became a rallying cry. The three nations, all facing similar struggles against insecurity and Western dominance, formed a new alliance known as the Alliance of Sahel States. Together, they announced plans to coordinate defense, share resources, and build a new framework for regional trade that bypassed old colonial structures. This emerging bloc of nations posed a direct challenge to Western powers. For the first time in decades, African leaders were not just talking about independence, they were actively pursuing it with bold economic moves. And at the center of this wave stood Ibrahim Traoré, his trade pivot becoming both a symbol and a practical step towards self-reliance. But the road is not without obstacles. Burkina Faso still faces daily threats from armed groups, some linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The country's economy is fragile, its infrastructure underdeveloped, and its population weary from years of hardship. Critics argue that pivoting away from the West could isolate the country further, leaving it vulnerable to exploitation by new partners who may simply replace one form of dominance with another. Yet Traoré insists that the difference lies in choice. For the first time in modern history, Burkina Faso has the power to choose its partners, negotiate its contracts, and demand fairer terms. Whether dealing with Russia for military cooperation, China for infrastructure, or Turkey for trade, the message is clear. Burkina Faso is not for sale, but it is open for partnership, on equal footing. This message resonates far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Across Africa, young people frustrated with corruption, unemployment, and foreign interference look at Traoré and see a leader unafraid to challenge the status quo. In countries like Senegal, Ghana, and Nigeria, activists are calling for similar bold moves, demanding their governments put national interests first. The 2.1 billion pivot is more than a financial number. It is a symbol of a generational shift. For decades, Africa has been described as the continent of the future, always promised development, but rarely allowed the independence to pursue it on its own terms. With leaders like Traoré, that future seems closer than ever. Meanwhile, in Washington, policymakers scramble to reassess their strategy. How do you counter a movement that is not led by one country, but by a rising tide of African nationalism? How do you contain an idea that spreads faster than sanctions can suppress? The US can pressure, criticize, and threaten, but the sight of ordinary Africans celebrating their sovereignty makes it clear that something has fundamentally changed. Traoré himself remains calm in the face of international backlash. In speeches, he emphasizes that his fight is not against America, France, or Europe. It is against exploitation, inequality, and dependency. He speaks not with hatred, but with conviction. His words echo the legacy of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader from the 1980s, who once declared that Africa must dare to invent the future. For many, Traoré is Sankara's spirit, reborn in a new generation. As months pass, the impact of the trade pivot begins to unfold. Investments flow into agriculture, boosting local food production and reducing dependence on imports. Small businesses benefit from government programs funded by the New Deals. Farmers, miners, and traders see changes that were once unimaginable. Slowly but surely, the vision of self-reliance becomes more than just rhetoric. It becomes reality. But the world watches closely. Will Burkina Faso succeed, or will it be crushed by external pressures and internal challenges? Will Traoré's bold gamble inspire a continental renaissance, or will it remain an isolated experiment in defiance? The stakes could not be higher. What is certain is this: the $2.1 billion trade pivot has already redrawn the map of African politics. No longer is Burkina Faso just a small, landlocked nation struggling to survive. It has become a beacon, a spark that could ignite broader change across the continent. And at the heart of this transformation is a young leader who dared to stand up, not just against the United States or France, but against the idea that Africa's destiny must always be written by others. As night falls over Ouagadougou, the city buzzes with both uncertainty and hope. Children play in the streets, unaware of the global storm their leader has stirred. Elders gather in markets, debating whether this path will bring prosperity or peril. Soldiers stand guard, determined to defend their homeland at all costs. And somewhere in the presidential office, Captain Ibrahim Traoré looks out at his nation with the weight of history on his shoulders. He knows the risks, he knows the enemies he has made, but he also knows that this moment, this decision, is bigger than himself. Because in the story of Burkina Faso, the $2.1 billion pivot is not just a deal, it is a declaration that Africa is rising, that the old order is crumbling, and that a new chapter in global politics has begun. And whether the world likes it or not, that chapter is being written not in Washington or Paris, but in the streets of Ouagadougou, under the watch of a young captain who refuses to bow.